Well, hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs said to be sentenced today in Manhattan federal court after being convicted on prostitution-related charges. Prosecutors are urging the judge to hand down at least 11 years, while Combs' lawyers are requesting just 14 months. Joining us now is Michelle Thomas, trial attorney. We welcome you, Michelle. Thank you. Can you walk us through how prosecutors arrived at this recommendation of 11-plus years in prison?
Sure. Good morning. So they're looking at the federal sentencing guidelines. Prosecutors use essentially a point system that considers the nature of the offense, the seriousness of the crime, the criminal history, and the aggravating factors. So here they're looking at, or they're trying to emphasize that this was not just an isolated event by Diddy, but a pattern of coercive control, a pattern of violence, and that there were drugs involved and weapons involved. And so because of that, they're seeking an 11-year recommendation.
Okay, so Diddy's attorneys would like time served or about 14 months. So how realistic do you feel that is?
That's unrealistic. And the reason why is, Chris, is because if the judge didn't believe that there was a seriousness here, perhaps even a pattern of violence and coercive control, he would have probably released Diddy on bail while he awaited sentencing. If you recall, Diddy requested, his lawyers fought vigorously to try to get him released once he was acquitted of the two more serious charges. But however, the judge said absolutely not, that he was essentially a monster and that he needed to stay behind bars. So it is unlikely that Diddy will walk free today. So
let me ask you this. What factors is the judge now going to be looking at when it comes to deciding between the two, either 11 years or the 14 months? Where do you think the judge falls in line there?
So the judge is looking at, again, the seriousness of the crime, whether there's a pattern here. A mitigating factor would be Diddy's lack of criminal history, because that's a factor the court considers. They're going to look at the need for deterring any future conduct, public safety, and essentially weighing the crime, the seriousness of the crime against fairness all around. I think it's unlikely that the judge will yield 14 months, but probably unlikely that he'll do 11 years as well. He'll probably fall somewhere in the middle, which is where the U.S. prosecutors are also seeking.
And let me ask you about court today. There's victim statement letters that have been written. You're going to hear from Diddy for the first time, who's going to address the courtroom. Your thoughts on how this is all going to unfold?
You know, the court has such wide discretion. We are in for a long day of sentencing. Multiple victims will testify, and even one of the victims that the prosecution named but declined to testify at trial will likely seek leniency for the court. And then Diddy himself is going to seek leniency. Now, the key for Diddy is that he has to be remorseful. He has to take responsibility for what he's been convicted of. And so if he can do that and really show that he's remorseful and sorry and that he is a changed man, there may be an opportunity for the court to show some leniency in the sentencing. Which
he already did in that statement that he provided for the court, but I guess we'll verbally hear it today. His defense team also signaling plans to potentially appeal. On what grounds would they argue?
His defense team will argue that that there was some legal unfairness during the course of the trial. They're likely to argue that there may have been witness credibility issues, that some of the evidence admitted could have been prejudicial. Some of the videos, if you recall, we saw very lengthy videos of these quote-unquote freak-offs that occurred. So he'll argue that. And they may even argue issues regarding jury instructions and so forth. I think the likelihood of prevailing on appeal is low, but that is certainly what Diddy's team will argue.
An option that they will have. Michelle, thank you very much. Michelle Thomas, trial attorney. Thank you for joining us here.
Thank you for having me.
And when sentencing comes down, we will bring you live team coverage from outside the courthouse. And you can find our complete coverage on this case at our website at cbsnewyork.com.